went ahead and did what everybody else would probably do. I went on that Craigslist and went ahead and got me one of them Farrises. There's only one catch. This one needs a little engine work. When you can't afford a new one, go on Craigslist. Sometimes you just look out and find a pretty good deal on one of these. A Farris IS 3000. I've been wanting one of these for a pretty long time. It's got the cool springs, 60-inch deck, needs a little TLC. I'm gonna walk around this mower after I unload it off the trailer, and we can kind of assess on what it's gonna need, and I can get some parts ordered for it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this unloaded. Rats hanging on my deck. Oh, no, 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 no. Shoot. And she's unloaded. Okay, here's what we got. This is a Farris IS 3000 independent suspension. It currently doesn't have a power plant. The engine is gone. I do have the back and the roll cage, but to be honest, I don't think the roll cage is going to go back on this machine. So it was originally equipped with a Kohler 27 horsepower engine, which has went to better places. It's no longer with us. And oh, right here, I might have worked on this. It's got a kind of hold your throttle like a cruise control. So you just get it set where you want it and just jam that in there, and then you won't go any faster. It does have a fuel gauge. We'll check that in a second. Electric PTO. In case you fall in a stream or something, you won't lose your key. That's always good. 2 fuel tanks. I think they are roughly around 5 gallons on each tank. It does have the suspension up front. I've got the pedal here. I had to take it off to lift this guy up. Oh man, that's a knuckle grinder right there. So, looking down into it, all the belts actually look really good. It does have a little rustage going on. It was kept in a barn though, so really the only rust that I see on the machine is really just the surface of the deck. The front bearings, I'm going to have to do a little work here. Basically, they still spin freely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull them out, repack them, and put them back in there. And then put fresh grease caps on top. For the most part, the tires hold air. That's always a good thing. Oh, here's a better view of that suspension in the back. Let's see here. So here's kind of how that works. Got 2 pivoting arms, and oh, it's got good tread on those tires. That's always a plus. Not gonna have to put tires on it. No leaks. I don't see really any oil leaks other than the where the engine was. So let's pop the seat up real quick. See what we got here. It's got 2 hydro gear pumps. Looks to be maybe a aftermarket filter down there. Those are just the 10cc pumps on this hydro gear. They're okay. I'm at top speed on this thing, probably about 11 miles an hour. Ooh, it comes with a tool. I'm pretty sure that's for adjusting the shocks. You got your kill switch, and that wire looks a little melted. So we got a little meltage going on. I'll clean that out and take care of that. So down here, a little splicage. Looks like the fuse holders were maybe giving them problems. 3 different types. I'll go ahead and replace every one of those with some weatherproof ones. Got a seat adjustment. Got a dead stick on this side. Going to have to replace the hydraulic cylinder, and I noticed that it's hitting the tank right here, right there. I'm going to bend that down a little bit and try to take care of that problem. But you can see the pumps are in, so you look down in there where the pumps are, and it's really just, there's no real leaks, which is a really good sign, because those are expensive if you have to get into those. Luckily you can rebuild them. What kind of condition? I don't see any rips on the seat. It's always a plus. OEM seat, but I think I could probably pressure wash this and get that sucker to look real good. So you see this stick, I've got resistance. That's how it should feel. But even this one's got a little dead area. Same thing on this one. Just brighten it up for you. So when this comes down, it hits the fuel tank. So again, I'll just bend this little piece right here, and that should take care of that problem. But you know, a lot of these mowers have a lot of wear on these linkages. Like on my Skag, I've got a pretty good amount of wear. These look like they've been really well maintained. Let's see. Spindles feel good. It's got little scalp wheels. Tires are still holding air. I did notice one spindle over here. I got a little, here, I did notice this spindle over here has got a little bit of there's a spacer missing on it. You can see that's not good. Hopefully that didn't damage the shaft. Hopefully it's just the keys a little rounded. There's a little crack in the deck, so I'll take this guide wheel off here. We'll bend the deck back out and we'll just go ahead and weld it. Now you can see the rust here. Normally I'll sand it down and put some acid etch primer on it, give it that nice gray sheen, and I can get the Farris red. It's $45 a can. One can would probably do it, to be honest. But I just, $45 for 12 ounces. I'm sure I could probably go to O'Reilly's or somewhere and get them to match the paint. Maybe get something close. It doesn't have to be exactly that red. I mean, the first time you mow, it's going to get dust and dirt on it. Oh, here's something else. So this did, when it was new, it had like a conveyor belt material on it. So I'll go to Tractor Supply and get around a 2-foot section of that and go ahead and replace that just for a deflector. A lot of people don't even use them. They're good to have if you're going around cars. It's not a nice day whenever you put a windshield out. Oh, okay. Here's the parking brake. It applies a brake on both sides. And we got a selector for your fuel tanks. It's kind of like those earlier style X marks is what this design really reminds me of. What I want to do tonight, I want to go ahead and bolt an engine onto this. To be honest, I don't plan on rebuilding the engine that came off of it. I've got it in the back of the truck. I'll show you that in 1 second. But it's a little beyond repair, if you know what I mean. All right, I wanted to show you guys what else I was dealing with this engine. It came pre-disassembled. So it's got your wiring harness. It had the Smart Spark, which I am not a fan of. Extra coils. You can see it was 27 horsepower command. Mufflers with some holage going on. It's probably where the heat shield vibrated loose. And then we got the engine over here, pre-disassembled. It through a rod. You can see it floating down there in the bottom. Let's see if it'll focus. No. I think the main culprit for the failure is they spun the cam. So you can see where it's got the rub marks kind of around there. I'd say this thing was probably overspinning. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably spinning 4,000 to 4,500 RPMs. And it just grenaded. I've seen this happen on Kohler Magnums. I've never seen it, honestly, I've never seen it on a Command. You got your hydraulic lifters down on the bottom. So here's the main reason why I can't rebuild it. So, let's see, get a better angle. You see my jug right here? So it's grenaded. Let's figure it, yeah, there you go. It's pretty much grenaded, it's gone. Same thing on this one. Just, it's gone. Pistons are beat up. So, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes you get lucky on these and sometimes you don't. So this one is just going to be a parts engine from here on out. You know, I can reuse some of the stuff like the breather, and the remote oil filter can be reused. The heads could probably be reused, but all the internals are pretty much shot. That's what we're working with. More than likely, I'm just going to switch this out with a Kawasaki. I'm looking at the 31 horsepower. Going to go ahead and just beef this thing up. Put a big block on it. Got more than enough real estate, so this should be pretty cool after I'm done. So what we'll do tonight, I'm going to bolt that 14 Kohler Command onto this. I'll go ahead and fire it up, and we'll test out the hydros and maybe try to mow a little bit with a 14 horsepower on it and see if that's even a doable thing. Anyway, well, let's get started with this. Don't have all night and I'm losing daylight. Before I go much further on this, I do want to get a little bit of this grease and stuff off. So I'm just going to take a paint scraper, kind of get the bulk of it. So I'm just going to scrape all this dirt in here because I don't really want it to go on the ground. Thought I was going to have to get the brake cleaner out on this, but this actually cleaned up really nice. I don't know if you can see it from that angle. They just ground it to the frame right here, so that makes it easy. And this will go to the starter, which this is going to be a pull start on this one. So let me get this engine and I'll carry it over here and set it on. There we go. I was mistaken. 15 horsepower Kohler Command. That'll probably be more than sufficient to mow the yard. Since I don't have the luxury of a concrete driveway, I'm gonna go get the cardboard out of the garage. All right, so this is a standard 1 1/8" crank. By, I think it's like 3 3/4 inches long. Should work for this. So we shouldn't have any problem getting everything on this. Crossing fingers. Anyway, let's see what it does. I'm thinking this is going to be a 10 millimeter. Go ahead and get these screws started. Hydro hose right in the way. I tell you what, I should have put 45-degree angles on those fittings. Bolt pattern's a little different. That's unfortunate. Well, the bolt pattern is slightly different on this engine. I'd say it's supposed to be mounted the opposite direction. Let's see if I can get any of them to line up. Okay, if I can get 2 of them to line up, we can test it. So let me see if I can get 2 to line up. So close. Well, unfortunately, it was just not in the cards today. I bet my Vanguard would fit onto it. I don't have it completed yet. Situation like this, I was really hoping that would work so I could try out these hydro pumps, but the bolt pattern's just not the same. The motor needs to be turned the opposite direction. Unfortunately, I just don't have the clearance for that. Short from drilling new holes, that'd be the only way that I could get this to work, and I'm just not going to do that. So I'll have to figure something else out. I'm currently on my way to pick up the engine for the Farris Rider. I got the notification today that it came in, and told them I'd be there around 12 to pick it up. So going to do that now. All right, I just picked up the Kawasaki engine, the FS 921V. 999cc, 31 horsepower of pure power. I cannot wait to get this on to the Farris. Anyway, I'm going to get this back home. We're going to unbox it. Hopefully do a little electrical work on the Farris to make it work with the Kawasaki engine. and get it bolted on. Engine. Wow. Look how big this thing is. That's massive. That's going to be awesome on this machine. Kawasaki. Okay, we're going to roll it on its side and just make sure there's no damage. All right, we just took it loose. They bolted it to cardboard, but there looks to be no damage to it at all. This piece might be a little bent. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be out a little bit. Okay, here's the muffler we went with. Oh, look, that lines up perfect. So, come on over here, camera guy. No, come over here. Zoom in. You see how this actually lines up perfectly with the head, so it'll support the muffler. I've got to do some work on the wiring harness on the mower itself. As soon as I'm done with that, we'll get this mounted onto it. What I got to do is, since that was a Kohler engine on that machine, I'm going to take a female connector from a John Deere that I'm getting ready to take to the scrap metal yard, and I'll make a harness from Kawasaki to the Kohler harness on the machine. That's fairly easy to do. So I asked my dad what size wrench to take out these bolts right here, and he said it's either a 13, 14, or 15. Just so happens I have one of those wrenches right here. 13, 14, or 15.
Did we say it was 13, 14?
Yeah, it's a 13, 14, or 15, and the 14 just happened to work. I'm gonna go ahead and put an oil drain on it also. I'll do a quick one. So this just isn't working for me at all. Whenever you've got multiple crimps, exposed wires, rub throughs, more exposed wires, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this harness back, and I've got automotive grade sealed connectors for the fuses. They're going to go in here instead of these. So it's much easier to do this with the engine off. Luckily, I've got the engine off. I need to use the voltmeter. We're going to track down which one of these does what. Luckily, I have all the harnesses disconnected, and we'll be able to do that. I'm going to follow the purple wire. Okay. Alright, this is the style connector I've chosen to go with. It's an automotive grade. So basically, it's waterproof and dust proof. Totally sealed. You won't have the corrosion problems that you have with the normal one. So this is pretty nice to work with because it collapses. See, if I pull it, it'll snug it down. So what I'm going to do is I want to give myself maybe 4 inches more than actually is needed. And that way, I'll run it like this. I'll go ahead and do my connections, and then I can run this over the connections to protect them also. Amtex solder flux. Alright, here's what we got going on. We now have the dust and waterproof fuse routed correctly. It says 20 amp. Don't put anything bigger than a 20 amp in here. You're just asking for problems when you do that. There you go. We're good to go there. Alright, so here's the new colors. Starter's yellow. We have the magneto kill black now. Voltage regulator purple or violet to red. And we're going to hook the power for the fuel solenoid up to the key switch on the auxiliary. Let's see. What I'm doing is, this is the Kawasaki plug. I'm not going to be using this. I'm instead going with one of these Euro waterproof plugs. All the connections, soldering those. The blue is going to be to the fuel solenoid, and I'm going to run a wire directly to the key switch for that. How this one had like the smart spark on it, they kind of like bridge the purple and the yellow together to get the signal. I'm just going to come straight off the key switch. So that's what I'm going to run next. I'm going to have to cut open this wire loom, and I'll just run one through it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in right here. When you turn the key ignition to the on position, we have 12 volts going through this right here. So we'll maybe pull this back and redo this connector and go ahead and solder two wires together as it goes in. I'm going to use a green wire because that's what Kawasaki is using, and we're just going to fish it all through here. So I did verify it. This is a delay module for the clutch, kind of like what I did on the video for the Skag where I installed it. Alright, now I've just got to hook this stuff back up. It's just plug and play. This only goes in one way. It's got a dummy on it. That's pretty much it. Alright, next thing I need to do is I need to make the engine side. So here's the OEM Kawasaki. Going over to the waterproof one. You can see it's sealed on that side too. Should be fairly simple. Alright, I got this little kit off Amazon. You can see what brand it is. 640 pieces. Comes with the insulators and the little connectors. I needed it for these little bull connectors right here. All right, here we go. Here's the finished harness. Tried to make it as close to OEM as possible. Soldered on for the starter. Yellow's going to be the starter. Red's going to the charging system. Kill wire is black. The blue is actually the green for the fuel solenoid. I'm going to go put it on the engine and let's see what it looks like. Okay, the red is too short, so I'll make a jumper for that. All right, here we go. Got the connector on, charging system hooked up. Tomorrow I'll be able to put that engine on. That should work. You ready? I'm ready. Put a weld on that.
We'll grind it, kind of make that look prettier, and then that'll stick good.
Pulled up.
I see it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little crater. So we're just gonna maybe grind. We'll smooth off a ground point right here, and then we're just gonna put a bead of weld on that. I'm gonna have to pull out the bigger impact gun for this one. That fill on that one is about ready to go too. That spot gets a lot of dust and vibration from the engine. Yeah, I think that one might have been done. All right, I got everything loose. I'm getting ready to push the mower over the deck so I can get to the deck and actually sand on it. All right, now that I got the deck off, we can see what we're working with. Looks really like it's just the front lip area is what I'm gonna have to address. They've replaced this pulley at some point in time. It does not look to be sitting level. I'll have to address that. And then I will be addressing this. We're missing a spacer and they've destroyed the Zerg. Boy, a poor mower just looks all vulnerable without the engine on the back, no deck, no roll cage. Don't you worry, we'll be fixing you up really soon. I bet you if that belt were to go right there, that'd be, I bet that's $100, easy. When I match paint, that's what I need to go for right there. All right, here's what it looks like before primer. I've already wiped it down with alcohol. First coating of spray balm. What I have to do now is I'm gonna let the paint sit for 2 to 3 hours. I'll let it bake in the sun. And while in the meanwhile, what I'm gonna do is I found a real close match. I didn't look too hard online, but they said Rust-Oleum Regal Red works really well. So I picked up 3 cans of that, and we'll do a test spraying on some metal, and we're gonna compare it to the frame. Okay, right here I got Rust-Oleum Regal Red. Fitting, we're just going to use a old gator blade. But Regal Red is a pretty close match. And here again, that's what I'm using is Regal Red Rust-Oleum. So as a side note, you'd probably want to get your car out of the way if you're going to do a paint job like this. Yeah, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna wait a couple 2 minutes. We're gonna get 2 cans on this. So we'll just have to continue to keep spraying, but it's starting to shape up pretty nice. here's the finished result. The deck is looking good. So the plan for today is I'm going to extend this arm out, lift the front of the mower up, and since I have the wheels off the front of it, it'll be much easier to get the deck underneath it. Then I'll hook the deck up, reattach the wheels, and from there we'll go ahead and spin it around, and we're going to get the engine on today. Step one is to get it supported without the front jack. I've got that done. Step two, we got to run over to the deck. We need to adjust the idler pulley, see what's going on with it. And I also need to check on, basically just tighten down an idler pulley on one spot. You can see we're leaning right here. It's cut into the deck before. And then right here, we're just loose. So we're going to tighten that up. And then we're going to see what's going on with this. Something's not right. So it looks like 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch. I go ahead and tell you that's not the original bolt. So we got to see what's going on there too. We're gonna have to dig for that one. It's under some grass. That's gonna have to work for now. Oh, let's see what's going on here. A little sore. Oh man, little grass build up. Now the blades look good. Definitely mowing some wet grass. No rust. There's my bolt. So we're going to bend this back out. You know, it actually looks pretty flat on the deck, I'm not going to lie. I'm wondering if the bolt's bent. Maybe they didn't use a grade 8. So yeah, it looks like we're a little high on that side. We might have to do a little deck adjustment. Right here. High point. Don't try this at home unless you're a professional like I am. I really don't know how you bend 1/4 inch thick steel quite like that. Needs a little bit more adjustment. Oh, now we're getting there. Got her back level. What we're going to do on the other side is we're going to find some washers. And I'm going to go ahead and put washers, and we're going to thicken this up even more. Normally they got a bigger base than this on something that's got this much tension on it. What we're going to do is we're going to clean the bottom. I found a washer. We're just going to reuse that one bolt. We're going to clean out underneath here. Wire brush action. Oh, pretty dusty under here. coming up for some fresh air. Man, it's dusty. This is where one of those scrapers would have came in handy. I'm wondering if that's the correct pulley, to be honest. We really need a washer on top of that one too. Let me go get a washer. Starting to get a little hot out here, fellas. Got a lip it goes against. I'm just gonna put a lock wash. Whenever you have them off like this, you're just gonna take it, turn it upside down, and pop it with your ball peen hammer. Put some 243 on these threads this go round. Don't want this coming loose again. Probably what happened is this came loose and it allowed it to wobble back and forth, and that's why it was able to bend the deck. Alright, good and tight. Not perfect, but pretty level. I'm a big fan of Loctite, and I'm a big fan of anti-seize. Now what we're going to do, since we got this situated, both these are leveled or tight, going to go ahead and lower this down on the dolly. Then we're going to remove the jack. We're going to go ahead and get this mounted back underneath the mower. And then we're going to spin the mower back around. I'm going to not crush my finger this time. Before we spin the mower around, I'll have to put the wheels back on the front. So we'll go ahead and get those installed. Then we'll spin the mower around. Then we will go ahead and get the engine set on it. All right, we got the deck under the mower. I forgot to hit record on that. We tried to get the dolly and push it underneath. Didn't work at all because of how high the dolly was in the back. So I had my dad come over and he helped me lift it, and we slid it under there. I'm getting ready to bolt it to the lawnmower right now, and then we'll do the front caster wheels. What we're going to have to do right here is we need to get this bearing off. And to do that, we're going to have to get this rust off. Well, when moving this mower around, there's apparently a very good pinch point. And I have filleted one of my fingers. So I need to keep that clean. So that's why I got the glove on. Okay, let me go get some penetrating oil. We're going to give that a shot, and then we're going to gently pry on this and try to get it out. There it goes. Alright, we're just going to clean these up. Alright, I got some parts cleaner here. Go ahead and just stuff a rag down there. This looks like the type that doesn't have a Zerg fitting. It's a sealed, so these should have been serviced. Okay. All right, pick this up over at, where was it? Tractor Supply. Bearing Packer. You'd think Harbor Freight would have something like this, but they don't. Just take your bearing. We're going to be using Red and Tacky and number 2 by Lucas. Cleaned these guys out real good yesterday. What you're going to do is get them centered on here. Hey,
What's going on?
what you got? I think it, yeah, just trash.
Oh, okay.
It's just empty. Appreciate you bringing it though. Can over there, you can just throw it away. I don't know if she's giving it to the girls.
Oh, yeah, they are.
These are, I'm reusing the old ones.
Oh, okay.
They were still decent. These don't spin much.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now that we have everything prepped, we're gonna go ahead and put it together. Okay. Now, what I like to do is I will set the bearing right here where it needs to be. We need to drive that seal up in here. Seal's nice and flush. We're gonna get some grease and just rub right on the base. Again, if you need to know what type of bearings these are just set 14s. We're gonna have to jack it up a little bit more. Okay. Now what we can do is we're going to let it down. These don't have grease fittings. I'm just going to put my foot right here. And we are just going to put a ton of grease just right down in here. Now remember, we've already packed the bearings, making sure we got grease in here, so it's not going to have to be done again for a little while. We're going to get our other bearing and just slide it right on. Washer first, and then we're going to pop on one of these. What I do, I like to get them real tight. You can see, this is tight. Good. Cotter pins in. Now let me go get a grease cap. Now what I like to use, this is a 1.5" PVC coupler, and it'll just about cup. Sometimes they cup perfectly. This one's not. I don't like dinging the caps up. My buddy was telling me that some of the newer mowers that are sold, that the manufacturers are just packing the bearings. And that's it. What I'm dealing with is there's a Somebody's hit this with a hammer before. On that one side. I can't get the cap to start. So today we're going to be putting the 32 horsepower engine onto the Farris rider. We've been working on it for around 4 days now. I've had my dad out here helping. So far we've welded the deck, painted the deck, put the deck back on the mower. We've ordered parts for the spindle that had the wrong pulley on it, and after we get the engine on today, we're also going to put the hydraulic dampeners on the steering, and we're getting real close. We might be able to even start it today. Getting ready to set the engine down, making sure all my wires are clear. I think we're probably safe to take those off. Hydraulic lines will be a pain in the butt for whoever changes that oil filter. Ooh, you know, I might lift this back up and go ahead and put an oil drain on. I forgot to do that. It's probably a good idea because somebody would be really cussing me if I didn't. Okay, the only thing I'm having an issue with is the clearance here where this little bar where it comes out 1/4 inch. What I'm gonna do is just gonna take and grind her down like the contour of the engine, like a circle, and that should take care of the problem with the clearance, and we'll just hit it with a little spray of paint. Okay, I've got the seat marked. This is where it's gonna have to get cut. All right, that's what we're left with.
Get it! Oh.
Curved cut, so to clear the engine shroud. All right, you can kind of see how the hydraulic line's in a bind. It's right against that bolt on the starter. That will rub through. So we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to loosen it up in here, and then we're going to get it off that starter bolt and route it a little bit more over to the left. All right, just tightening it up. And you can see now we've got that tension off of it. It's routed better, and we should be good to go. Don't know why in the world they have 3-foot long hydraulic lines on this model, but they do. Okay, I wanted to point this out. You see that bag material wrapped around that where the underneath the fan is on this pump? You want to be sure to, if you see that, remove it. You can really damage a oil seal and cause a leak with something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and snip that off, and we're going to put the fan back on. All right, now that the bag is removed, we can go ahead and put the fan back on and get it bolted to it. Okay, so it turns out to pull off the dampeners for the steering, I'm going to have to remove the gas tank. So I'm going to get ready and do that right now. First thing I've got to do is I've got to remove this tire. I guess the one good thing about taking the wheel off is we will be able to check the brakes and set them, because I noticed that one side was loose. A little rubbage going on right there. Not through the metal, but it's definitely rubbing. So a little rubbage, that's okay. Oops. Got the brake. We'll set the we'll set this. These are probably adjustments right here and here. And of course we got adjustments there. To pull the gas tank, we have 1, 2, and way back in here, 3 and 4 9/16. Hopefully they come out pretty easy. Then we're going to pull this tank and we'll be able to get to the shock dampener. A little bit more work than I wanted to do. Got a 1/2 inch. We're just going to set it down like this. My bet is that this right here is bent. What I'm looking at is behind this fitting is one little bolt, and that controls the shock dampener, which goes down to right in there. So got to take both those loose. A lot easier to get to with the fuel tank out of the way. So we'll just loosen this and get the spring to lift up for the e-brake, and then I'll have access to that bolt and I can get the impact gun on it. Just gonna loosen this up. I'm gonna drop it off. And pull it out. So now we have access to the troublemaker bolt. We're just going to zip that off with an impact. No reason to have a washer on that. But you can see this one's no resistance whatsoever. So we're just going to make sure and put these on the exact way that they came off. Alright, I don't have a short 7/8, so we're just going to have to make this work. I'm going to bend this down. When you drop that, it was hitting the gas tank where somebody's pushing hard on these. So by bending that down right there, it should clear the gas tank. So what we're going to do is going to get some of this dust and debris off here. Then it goes everywhere. Feels a lot looser than the other one did. About a big old stick. So I've got to tell you what I'm doing I'm removing the other gas tank because it's almost impossible to get to this brake line with the gas tank on. It's just easier. And I'm all about easy. This gas tank doesn't have any fuel in it. Oh, it doesn't have a little fuel in it. A couple gallons in there. Captain Hindsight here. Looking back 2 months in the future at this mower right now, ran into a couple problems. Was running out of fuel halfway through mowing a yard when I had 5 gallons of fuel in the tank and I run out of gas in 2.5 hours. And I'm thinking to myself, is this mower really that thirsty, being 31 horsepower? The quick answer to that is no. I found out that my fuel pickup lines in the tank had rotted off, and so I was only picking up half of my tank of fuel. So now I've got easier access to this bolt, and we got easier access. We're going to go ahead and bend this little arm for the switch flatter. I'm going to do that first thing. Locked it in. There we go. Good as new. Now I'm going to attempt to get this brake line loose so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. I just realized something. Let's just take this whole plate off. What we're going to do is we're going to just take this whole plate off, and that way I can get to that adjustment. That'll make it much easier. Okay, switched it to the 9/16. I bet you all those are supposed to be 9/16, and that was a replacement. All right, now look how easy this is. Take that off. And now we have easy access. And now I have no problem getting to this. Almost. This little reverse spring thing is still in the way. We'll go ahead and get that removed. All right. Look, we'll be fixing this. Wow. They've got zip ties holding this hydraulic tank on. That'll be corrected. We'll have to make a trip to the hardware store, but that will not. We're gonna fix that. Wonder if that's OEM. I don't know. Never seen that before. Let's get this linkage adjusted. There it goes. Okay, we're gonna have to take this nut all the way off. This one, it's got a bushing on it. So you want to be sure to keep that safe. Okay, with that arm loose, pull this back. You know what I was running into? Nuts grabbing that nut. Bunch of nut grabbing going on over here. Man, that sucker is on there good. Okay. It's out of the way. What a mess. Still working on those dampers. This one still worked, but I'm not just going to replace one, we replace them both. Let's tackle this brake. See if we can't get it to work. I already put this on, but that was a mistake. So let me take it back off. Sit in the brake is what I'm trying to do. What we are trying to do here is pull out all the slack. And we're making this tighter and tighter and tighter until we can get that brake to grab. Right there, that's about max. Okay. Ooh, we're grabbing there. See how? Yeah, that got it. So what I'll do is I'll tighten this down and then we'll see if we can't make an adjustment right there too. Let's see if I can get it right here. There it goes. Oh, wait. There we go. Nice and tight. Next thing we're going to have to tackle is this tank. Zip ties aren't going to do it for me. Looks like these hoses have been replaced. Maybe this tank's been replaced, but we're going to adjust the distance of the hose right there, shorten them up, and then we're going to get this bolted back to the mower. All right, this is what we got going on. These are going to get shortened by about 1/2 inch. They're just, they're too long. They need to be no longer than this piece right here. And it's not allowing the tank to go all the way into place. We're going to trim both these. They're just return lines. So you can see the other one's right in there. This one looks okay. It's got a bend on it, so it's just going to rub against the metal. I don't know if I would have done it this way. Normally they have fittings that kind of thread in, but this is probably a cheaper tank. Okay, I've got the tubes trimmed, or hoses trimmed. I'm going to bolt the oil reserve back onto the mower. All right, it's bolted back to the mower. And now you can see we have that clearance that we needed to where this tube was not rubbing against that tank. It looks much better than zip ties holding it on. This right here is worth its weight in gold. It's a spring puller. They sell them at Harbor Freight. Okay, I've successfully got the spring on. All right, one thing I'm running into is the bolt holes that hold the engine on are a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is run a tap through here to size this up and then smooth it out with a Dremel. All right, we should be able to get that on the ground. All right. All right. Let's see. First crank. Turn it on. Let's listen. Do you hear the clutch? Okay, clutch works. Okay, turning the key. Nothing on the engine, but we have to do all the safety. So we'll push down on the seat. Okay, so engine turns over. What I'm going to do is turn the engine over for about 20 seconds or so, and then we're going to recheck the oil because we need to fill the oil filter and we need to fill the oil cooler as well. Alright, now we're going to recheck the oil and go ahead and top it off, and then I'll go ahead and put the muffler on it, and I've got to hook up the fuel solenoid. As soon as I'm done with that, we'll be able to add gas, we'll prime the system, and we're going to go ahead and get it started for the first time. Okay, so I went ahead and added to another half quart after turning the engine over. So now we're at the top of the full mark, right around there. And one little pro tip, if you're ever looking to buy a mower that has a Kawasaki engine with a dipstick like this, if you see it's discolored, like a dark brown color, that probably means they've went extra long on their oil changes, and something to consider when you're looking at an older mower. Anyway, we should be ready to go here. I'm going to put the muffler on, and then I'm going to connect the this right here, the green wires for the fuel solenoid. Then we should be able to start it for the first time. Oh, so they both decided to drop them. Its first test start. Crossing fingers here. I don't think I'll really have a problem. I've double checked the oil twice. Everything's hooked up for the pumps. The deck still is not hooked up. I'm still waiting on a pulley, and I've got to take care of that spindle before I can get that deck hooked up. And I need a choke cable a little longer. I'll show you that a little later in the video. Other than that, it should be ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and test start this. And I'm going to put the camera right behind it so you can hear what it sounds like whenever it starts. Okay. This is going to be the first start. Choke on. Something's not working. Okay, I want to show you guys how silly I am. Took all this off, and over all the excitement, I thought, well, maybe it's a safety switch giving me a hard time or something like that. But you know the one thing that you have to have on a mower before it'll start? It's the parking brake. My parking brake is not on, so let's try this again. This time, I've got the parking brake on. Things we need to do is I need to make sure that the mower's charging. So I'm going to take a voltmeter and check the voltage to make sure it's over 12 volts. It should be shown between 13 and 17 volts. I'm actually going to power it down and engage the hydro pump and take it for a test drive. Okay, so to do this you need a 5/8.